Sideline Sports Network. Had to do the show. Started 30 minutes later than usual. Been going through a bunch of different stuff as far as media deals and all this other stuff goes, and I got hung up on the phone in a meeting for too long. So forgive me for being 30 minutes late, but the show will go. It's going now. It will be on until 9. So I do appreciate everybody that waited around for us, and it'll all pay off. We're going to talk about Junior Day that happened at Florida State yesterday. We're going to talk about the 2023 season. But before we get into all that, as always, Game Day Vodka is the premier sponsor of Spear Addicts by Sideline Sports Network. It is an American vodka company. It is American distilled. It's American made. And it is American bottled and American sold. So if you would like to try out Game Day Vodka, you can go to GameDayVodka.com as long as you're 21 years of age or older. And you can buy your team's favorite bottle, which is the colors of your team on the bottle. Pretty cool. But other than that, they're also sold in ABC Wine and Spirits, and they're also sold in Publix. And that's the gist of it. We really appreciate the partnership of Game Day Vodka. Moving right into this, there was a huge list of guys that came in for Junior Day at Florida State in the 2024 class and including the 2025 class. Florida State, like I've been telling people for I'd say about the past 3 months, the 2024 class has got so many blue chip guys in it that are interested in Florida State that already have them consistently in their top 10, top 5, top 12, whatever their top school list is. The craziest part is they never move. I will tell people a secret about the edits. Look at the edits, and as long as Florida State's logo is always in the same spot, that's one of their top schools. If they move, it means they either moved up a spot or they dropped a spot. And no, not all of them are in the order of 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not how it works. Sometimes the ones in the middle are 1 and 2. Sometimes the ones on the ends are 1 and 2. So doesn't always work the way that you think, but just know if we moved, it was either good or it was bad. It's not just because it makes the edit look better or make it look worse. But there were a couple 2024 kids that Florida State is highly sought after. They really want them. And the gentleman to the right of me up top has I don't know if it's he gets to coach the knuckleheads is what I'm trying to say. And we're going to let him talk about those two for a minute. And then we'll bring up a few more that would be great for the Florida State team. And then we're going to start talking a little bit more about the 2023 season and what they could do for us in 2025 coming up because they're 2024 classmen. So, James, TJ, I guess you can start off with and let everybody know who he is and why they would want him.
Yeah, Tramel Jones, we call him TJ affectionately at Mandarin High School, is our starting quarterback. Incredibly intelligent kid who's had a lot put on him. If you go let me just correct people because there's some people who have tweeted some things that are wild statements and complete transparency. Anybody who I'm involved with, and Chris has seen this, other people have seen this, you get the same me 24/7. So somebody he reminds them of Deshaun Watson. Cut that. Don't put that on my guy. Not that he's just he doesn't like to get touched inappropriately or do weird stuff, but he's also not that good. He's good though. He's going to be that good. But if he was Deshaun Watson, you know what Mandarin would have had last year? A state championship. But I will say he has been put into a position because he's so smart, because he has the potential. He'll be the most college-ready quarterback in the class of 2025 because of what we put him in our RPO system. So again, let me tell you what he's got is this. This is offensive staff here. He's got a guy who was one of the best offensive linemen at Marshall, offensive savant, and his head coach. So O-line guru. He's got a former running back at a school that everybody right now is listening to. He's got a former HBCU quarterback that's a wide receivers coach. He's got another Division I guy. So he's got tons of guys that he's going around on top of talent. So he's running a RPO system where every play is dictated by him. And he's been doing that since his freshman year. Like, and mind you, he hadn't played football in 2 seasons before he took his first varsity snap because of knee injuries. But what he ended up doing is we had a guy get injured, and then he was the guy who had to fill in, and all of a sudden he never relinquished the spots. And this year he helped us lead us to the playoffs, gets us in great plays, throws a really, really good ball. I think one game I've seen him get really rattled where he did some things that I didn't necessarily like. But then when I want to cuss him out, you know what I have to remember? He's 15 years old. Like he's a kid. He's not supposed to be as good as he is right now. But man, when I tell you, he takes coaching very well. He's got great parents, great family. I really like he's a guy that you legitimately enjoy coaching because you know he's going to come in and he's going to do the work and all he wants to do is be great. So I appreciate that kid. He's a good kid. I think it'll be interesting. And in the same ilk, he is a Denny Thompson 6 points quarterback trained kid who, if you look at Luke Cromenholt, our class of 2024 commit, 6 points trained Denny Thompson kid, Anthony Richardson, a lot of guys in the area trained with Denny. So he's going to be well prepared technically and from a technical standpoint as well.
I want to thank William McMillan real quick for the $1.99 donation towards Sporadics. If you got a question, man, put it up there, and I'll answer it for you as soon as you put it up. But we do appreciate the donation. Another kid that a lot of people are talking about, and I've dropped a video on him. It's not part of the recruiting class, but there's a lot of stuff starting to come out about him. James even sent me another person's article about it today. But Jaheim Singletary, former 5-star cornerback that committed to Georgia and is now in the transfer portal, is, he's an obvious want. Everybody probably in the nation probably wants him. And Florida State being one of those schools that want him. And I know that he's interested in Florida State. And there's been conversations between people that are on this cast and Jaheim. I feel really good about the potential of getting him. I feel that this is just as good a spot as any. There's, rumored that his girlfriend's at FAMU or will be at FAMU. It's also much closer to home. It's technically home. Technically. I mean, you're closer here than pretty much anywhere. So, very good shot at getting Jaheim Singletary. I will stop there with that because this segment's not based off of that. We're basing this off of the guys that showed up for the junior day. And one that I want to touch on, because y'all know we love getting offensive tackle here at Florida State. We want to make sure that we got the right guys in the interior part of the line. And Jonathan Daniels, per 247 Sports, they did an interview with him, obviously, when they was sitting there, and he was there. He said he just enjoys being with Coach Atkins and Coach Norvell. The bond that they have and that they are building is extremely special, is what Daniel said. So he loves everything that FSU's got to offer academically. He likes the facilities so far, and he's really excited because in his tenure of being here at Florida State, he will be able to be part of the standalone facility that we broke ground on earlier or late last year. So he's one of the good ones that we would love to have here at Florida State. And you got a defensive tackle, DeAndre Robinson, and he says his comfort level is pretty good. He says he's not too far from home, but he's not too close to home. So it's just like the perfect amount of distance from home. So that's really cool that he likes that it's like midway. He came back, I remember when he came here the first time, which was in March. He got to visit the entire faculty. He got to see pretty much what it looks like for an official visit. I forget who was on the official visit when he came, but he got to see the red carpet rolled out for somebody. So he was extremely excited to be back and kind of felt like the red carpet was there for him. And I don't want to butcher this kid's name, but it's Tariq McCant, I believe. Tariq. Is it Tariq? Okay, so Tariq McCant. He visited both Florida State and Florida A&M on Saturday. So this kid's just wanting to go where he's most wanted, probably. When I see you'll go after Florida A&M as well, then usually those are the guys that will go where they're most wanted. He said they were great. He had a great time, and he said that both of his visits were really good. Obviously, Florida State's a much larger school, so there was more things that were offered. And then you had 2024 wide receiver Terrence Marshall. He said he had a really good time. Marshall was offered by Florida State last March he visited multiple times throughout last year. So he's really digging his relationship with Dugans. Dugans is doing a really good job at recruiting him. Then there's another defensive lineman, Xavier Porter, which is a kid that I really, really want. Like, I really, really like this kid. And even Papuchis has starting to connect with this kid, even though he's not a defensive end. I don't know if it's because Papuchis thinks he could be a hybrid where he could go be a tweener, basically go back and forth. So that's why Papuchis has shown much interest in him. Not real sure, but he's doing a good job at helping recruit him. So that's cool. He loves the energy at Florida State. He loves the way that the defensive line is coached. He's got to see it multiple times because he's been here multiple times. And then you got that 2024. This kid is the one I'm wondering if we had a shot at before the hire of Patrick Surtain. And his name is Brandon Jacob. And, obviously Surtain, I don't believe, was here for Junior Day because of Miami Dolphins were during a playoff game. But knowing that he will be coming there probably helps out. He says that he talks to this staff a lot. Florida State has been hitting him up all week. So that's good with him because he feels like they want him. And as much as they want him, he wants to be here, is how he feels about Florida State. Obviously, a very sought-after safety. And I think Florida State has the best chance of landing him. They lead pretty much every – like if y'all go check out James at Fearing the Spear, he's got a confidence meter thing that he does, and a lot of fans love it. He tries to do his due diligence on talking to either people that are around that athlete or to that athlete to kind of get a feeling on how close Florida State is to landing that kid or how bad they want to be here. So go check out his stuff at fearingthespear.com. He does a really good job as well. James, the other gentleman that the 2025 QB, or no, is that the one you just talked about, TJ?
Yeah, TJ's a 2025 kid.
Is that who you talked about?
Yeah, that's who I talked about.
Who's the 2024 kid that we're talking to at your school?
No, that's another 2025 kid. The wide receiver? You talking about Jamie French?
Let me make sure, because I'm almost positive it said that this 24 kid's from Mandarin. Let me see. Nope, you're right. 25.
Now, there are two DBs that Florida State should be talking to in this.
Yeah, let's talk about them. We're talking about the ones that Florida State's not talking to.
We've got both of our corners who, if you want to know how good these guys are, go watch what Goldie Lawrence did as a wide receiver against Mandarin High School. And they try to go both sides. You got AJ Shorter. I don't know what AJ's government name is, but his last name is Shorter. He's got almost every Big Ten offer that you can want. He's more of a safety. Again, like 6'2", 6'3" kid. And then John, who's a track guy, and John has offers from everybody in the nation. John's a 4-star wide receiver based on 3. And both of those guys are just – John's so good at corner that he gets bored. Like, you ever seen a kid just sit there and just be like, man, I really wish somebody – like, again, and this is – so people say, James, you hate Goldie Lawrence, and that's not true. I want Goldie Lawrence to be as great a NOLE as possible. It's just I'm hard on recruits that I get to see in person. And John was bored. He ran right because he's a legit 4.4 kid, and he gets top speed very fast. So like another good film on John is watching when the young man, the Fleming Island running back, I can't think of his name. That's just signed in this class, 2023 class, who's another track kid. He breaks for a long run. You see John run him down from behind. And those are the two guys. But the one that Florida State has right now, I'll be honest with you, if he was in the class of 2024, Jamie French would be committed to Florida State right now. They still got to recruit him. They're still going to have to fight for him. They're going to have to do a lot of different things because he's a 5-star wide receiver in the class of 2025. But he's that. Like, he is a kid who gets double and triple teamed every game, and he's still going to get 75 to 80 yards a game and not cry and not complain. He's going to block, ultimate team player. He's explosive. He's going to be he's your it's going to be a thick wide receiver that's like, he's not going to be your 4-3 guy, your 4-4, but he runs routes very well. He's hard to jam. And again, he's just a sophomore. There's times when, his problem again is going to be wanting to make he's a wide receiver, wanting to make the flashy catches, like the over the top one hand grab over somebody or running his route, catching it behind his back, which is incredible to watch him do those things in practice, but very frustrating to see him attempt it in the game and not be successful. But at the same time, that's a kid who I think, again, if they show what they're supposed to show in 2023, guys like this would be excited because he's a Florida State fan, but he was growing up with the Jimbo Fisher area when we won the national championship. He hasn't seen him be successful, but having me, I'm not the reason they're coming or not, but having me to be able to show them, and it looks like I picture very well. It looks like, I don't know what people think I make or what people think I do, but apparently people think I'm very well off. I'm not. I live like a Spanish person. There's 1,000 people in my house right now, but I have a modest house. I have a redneck truck. I have, these things, but they see when I go to Florida State games, how fans interact with me. They see how coaches interact with me. They see I get to walk, and they're like, he was just a damn fullback. If I go there and I do anything, these guys are going to love me. And that's my recruiting pitch to them. I say, you can get an NIL forever if you go to Florida State, if you actually make some plays that people can remember. And that's kind of right now the mindset that they're taking until somebody else shows them otherwise.
Yeah, and that running back that you were talking about out of Fleming Island was Singleton.
Yes.
And Singleton,
still running on us.
Yes. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. I was reading a comment when I said yes. But, yeah, a very good pickup for Florida State in the 2023 class. And obviously there's plenty of 2024 kids that, you see me do one about Lester, Charles Lester, the third. That DB is one that I think Florida State has to land in this class. I think they will as well, but I think they have to. He's one that Florida State really, really needs in this class to really keep that lift on what this class can be in the near future for when this class is finalized. I think Lester would bring a lot of people with him, and I don't mean necessarily just off of his team, but what he'll be able to bring just because of people that played with him or against him. They would love to be on the same team as him, and that dynamic duo usually comes from two separate schools. They would love to know what they would be like, in the college realms, because in the high school realms they had to play against each other. So what would that backfield look like if they were together? There's a couple of guys that would like to be just on the other side of the field from Lester, and to really show what they can do as a duo. So what we will cover a little bit more on is the potential of the 2023 season. Obviously there was a huge blow up today. A bunch of rumors came out that Io had a blistering moment during the first day of tour of duty. All I will say is that there was something that happened. It was taken care of. Everything's not perfect, guys. They go through life too. Life happens to everybody. Life happened to Io today, but it's being taken care of. People are doing their job. That's not going unnoticed. It's nothing. I don't read into things that people are saying. I personally talked to him 20 minutes after this happened. And it's, sometimes it's better to remove yourself from a situation than to act off of emotion, because usually when people act off of emotion, things don't go well. So he's a very mature young man, and he made the right decision. I'm very impressed with the way he carries himself, and I'm impressed with what he did today. So don't worry about Io. We'll have him on the show soon as well. But this will be taken care of. It's not the end of the world. It's not what everybody was saying. Just go with that. It was something, but it wasn't. It's not as big as what everybody tried to make it.
Yeah, Chris said a mouthful. That one right there. Like when James played, and when I played at the small school I played at, we didn't have to worry about cell phone cameras recording a blow up like that. These kids nowadays, man, like that's big for him to step away, and it really shows his maturity.
Y'all don't believe it or not, James can contest.
A few years ago, like in my era, it would have been. I'm glad it got handled the way it got handled, because my era it would have been. It would have been handled. It would have been. It would have been like.
It'd have been handled.
Y'all wouldn't have found out about it until some later stories when guys are drunk and having cigars and telling stuff. But it would have been some. It would have been somebody would have been welcome to Florida State quite differently. If like it would have happened to, because Ayo reminds me of a teammate of mine, not necessarily in his demeanor, but how he's built. Broderick Bunkley. Bunk's craziest person I've ever met in my life. Like, funny story about Bunk. This was before Bluetooth. This was before people we didn't even all have cell phones yet. So, but he had an earpiece in. Oh no, excuse me. But they did have earpieces. He didn't have anything. So I'm coming in freshman 2 days. I'm going to my locker. He's sitting in his locker, and apparently Odell has made him extremely angry. And he is in his locker having a full-blown conversation with him and his demons. And he's in there like, yo, man, I can't believe that man tried you. Man, I know, dog. Can you believe he tried us like that? Man, I don't know what he was thinking, man. You ought to go to do this. So I'm sitting over here putting my combination in, and I'm like, who is he talking to? And they're very angry. I don't want them to see me. So like, I just leave. I don't even turn around. I don't make any false movements. I just literally backtrack from where we get our gear from in our locker all the way out of the back. I probably stepped on the Seminole head like you're not supposed to, but I got out of there because Bunk was a 6'3", 320, no body fat. Like, it's just that's a bad man right there. But Ayo kind of reminds me of that in the build perspective. So I like I like him in the tussle.
Yeah, and I will say this: no one got in Io's way when this was going on. Everybody moved accordingly. No one tried to stop it. They let him do what he needed to do to get his frustrations out. And we're going to leave it at that. I'm not going to get into detail about what happened. It's a team issue, and it's taken care of. Things happen, man. People make mistakes. Schools are like a marriage. A commitment to a university is just like a marriage, and people make mistakes, and shit's got to get ironed out. No different than a wife and a husband getting into it for the first time, and they don't react well to what happened. They get pissed off. And so the people that are asking if Norvell Central is a part of the show anymore, he is. He's got some things going on in his personal life that he's trying to take care of. He's trying to get his brand to grow as well. He took a little bit of time off to do what he's doing. My show goes till 9:00 tonight, so he will be on in the near future. He's not gone. But do make sure you go over to his YouTube channel, subscribe to it, and check out his video content as well. He's actually got me on a couple of his videos. We're just trying to help each other out and build everyone's brand. Same way that I've been putting out stuff about go check out James's channel. Make sure that you go to the Sports Den YouTube channel, subscribe to it, check out James's content. They do have content other than what they do with me, which I very much appreciate what they do with me, but that don't mean you can't support them on what they do alone. They would They would gladly take the followership. They would keep you entertained, just like they do here. So, and then Chip the same way. He's got a Facebook page that he would love to keep growing. It seems to be doing very well. I think it has more former Noles on it than any other page, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't know a page that has more. I personally don't. Y'all seen me completely get giddy like a little girl at prom when Charlie Ward quote tweeted my tweet last night. I did get extremely excited about it and acted like a little girl. But it's Charlie Ward, so y'all don't have to understand it. You don't have to agree with it. But if Ward Dunn did it, I would get just as giddy. And if Derek Brooks did it, I would get just as giddy. The first time that Marvin Jones, Shade Tree Jones did it, I did the same thing. I completely freaked out. So I just like being seen and respected to the knowledge of the former Noles that did something great here. I got one that is a co-host on my show every Monday and Thursday. So yes, I am living a pretty cool life. I will admit that. It's and I will share that with everybody that I can. So moving forward, the 2023 season is going to be one for the ages. This is our 10-year anniversary from the 2013 year where we just won a national title. 2013 to me does not feel like 10 years ago, and that lets me know I'm getting old. It feels like it was the other day. I remember jumping up and down in the home that I was in when this happened. So it's the 10-year anniversary, and it makes me older than dirt. So 2023 could be very special. We have what they consider 85% of our production coming back on the offense. We have 77% of our defense coming back. I don't know how it's only 77% because all we lost, to my knowledge, big time wise, was Jamie Robinson. But I guess some guys transferred, so it considers we lost a couple, like Sidney Williams. He transferred out, so I guess that's how we got to 77%. But I feel like when you got Jared Verse, Fabo, we lost Coop. So, yes, it makes sense for 77%. My bad. But we do have some very vital pieces coming back for the defense as well as the offense in 2023. So what I want to ask the two co-hosts that are with me on the show tonight, we'll start with you, Chip, first off. But what do you think it is that Florida State, team-wise, I don't know if you know the schedule perfectly, but you obviously know the big games that we're playing is Clemson, Florida, LSU. LSU is the first game of the year. Do you feel like if we set the tone with LSU, it's the same as setting the tone of this past season? Because we were able to pull off the win against LSU, and it seems like it put us on a hell of a winning streak until we got to the mid part of the season. Do you feel like we have to win the LSU game for us to make it to the ACC championship, or do you feel like we can rebound if we do lose?
I feel like we can rebound if we do lose, but we need to take everything 1 week at a time. I know I'm not saying anything that James don't know, that you don't know, as fans, as players. You got to take everything 1 week at a time. I think for us to get the respect that we're supposed to get, that we deserve, we're going to have to win week in, week out. And, the teams that we should dominantly handle, we're going to have to handle. Because, the reporters and the media is going to be against us. They're always on the Big Ten, the Big Ten, the Pac-12. They're nuts, and we got to keep Jordan Travis healthy. I mean, I love what we possibly have with our two backups. We've got a hell of a running game, minus Trayshawn. Our receiving rooms, stacked. We've got the weapons on offense. We've got the dogs on defense, and that's what we have on defense is dogs. And I can't wait to see what we get out of Surtain, how he's able to coach them boys up, because he was a dog at Southern Miss, and he played on with those Southern Miss defenses that easily were top 5 in the nation when he was there. So, I mean, it's still going to be week in, week out. I love what Norvell and them are bringing in as far as talent-wise. I'm loving the fact that we might be able to one of those that doesn't have to rebuild every year. We just reload. And it seems like with us getting majority of all the guys back, that we're in the position now where we can reload.
James, the question that I'm going to ask you is similar, but we're going to move down the list a little bit. Let's say that we lose to Clemson at home because it's at their home. We're playing in Clemson. So let's say we lose to them in the regular season, but we end up being the two best teams. It's our only loss going into the ACC championship, also against Clemson again. But we beat Clemson this time. Can Florida State make it to the college football playoffs with only one loss to a Clemson team?
Yes. That would have your only losses can be to Clemson and LSU. And then it doesn't matter if you win the ACC championship. But how you lost does matter. It's all about style points. Was it a competitive game? Was it a game where people can clearly see? Because then you'll have an Ohio State, Michigan type of situation toward the end of the season. Now, what's going to happen is Alabama. I fear what's going to happen to college football next year because of what they did to Nick Saban on a college national championship game where they basically made it seem like, hey, Georgia's basically made you wash. And I'm like, yo, you should have never said that to this man. Now this man is finna awaken his inner demons to go out here and crush the world. But I think, I think we have a chance. The problem is if Alabama and Georgia are just as good as they've been and they meet each other in the SEC championship and they're a one-loss team from the SEC, they will take those. If it's those two teams, they will take them. That's kind of where we have to go. But I think Florida State is in a great situation regardless. They are selling out, and you want the fan base as well as recruits to see that you are taking the strides and the steps that are necessary in order to go and compete for a national championship when it's on your doorstep. That being said, even if they're in a situation where they're playing in a New Year's Six bowl, that's where you want to be at, because in 2024, you set yourself up for it. All you have to do is be which the new average, the standard should be, and you're going to get a chance to play in the college football playoff as they expand to more teams. So I think it's coming and on the horizon for Florida State to be in a really good position.
Well, what I will say this, I think Derek Ray is starting to do a very good job at the general manager position at Florida State. I wasn't a fan of Derek's when he first got here. I also wasn't a fan of the things that I heard that might be changing at Florida State when he first got here. But I will say that since he's been here, he's done a damn good job. He's doing a lot of the things that is necessary for us to recruit well. He's doing a lot of the things that I didn't know he was capable of doing, because where he came from, I don't think he was necessarily doing that job. So I didn't know if he was qualified to do what he's doing, but he has proven me wrong, and he's doing a damn good job. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, but he seems to be doing very well. We have talked about this multiple times, and I've told people that we will have more off-the-field hires during the season, and I don't think people believe me yet. Just know that when it happens, I am going to say I told you so, because I think we're at 66 off-the-field staff members or some shit, and we want to get to like 80-something. I think Florida, which we probably will never get to the big blue ship, because I don't think we need to, but I think they got like 112, 115. That's crazy. Too many people promising too many things, which I think is where Rashada comes into play for them. I think too many things were promised, and no one knows who promised what, so it is what it is. Do we feel like Florida State's going to be in the conversation? This is a question from fans. Do we feel like Florida State's going to be in the conversation in the next 4 years about being a potential playoff team when we've got teams like Georgia and Alabama scheduled to be played. Like in 25 and 26, we're playing Alabama, home and home series, and then 26 and 27, 26, 27, we've got Georgia, home and home series.
We'll never see the Georgia series. That won't happen. By that time, they would have expanded to where they're at, and Georgia and Florida State will both. If Florida State would, I don't care what anybody says. Again, people are changing the reputables are changing their minds as the day speaks because common sense is finally playing out. A lot of this stuff you don't really need a lot of brain or sources. You need to use what we learned in geometry, deductive reasoning. You look at the landscape of college football, and guess what? SEC is expanding, Big Ten's expanding. It's one of two choices unless you want to get left out of it. Nobody wants to see everybody else get $100 million a year contracts for TV deals, and you're not doing it. So, but I think by the time Florida State would be in the Big Ten, and Georgia and the SEC would be making arrangements to where they play more teams in house. But the Alabama one, I believe is it 2024 or 2025 when we play them and Notre Dame, we get the Notre Dame slate. That was going to be difficult, but outside of that, the way the college football playoff is rounding out, all you need is nine regular season wins will more than likely get you top 15, and that'll probably get you into the college football playoff. So with the expansion, and this is why I don't necessarily care for it. I care for it because it affects us now. But like before, when I didn't think we had a chance, or if we were Georgia, Alabama, I would be like, no, I don't want the expansion. Keep it the way it is. But when you have this, you actually can start looking at your schedule in a different manner, right? The NFL is, you want to win every game, but it's illogical to go. It's the reason why it's only been one team to go undefeated. But if I could get to 10, 11 wins, I'm more than likely going to win my division, and then I'm going to get myself into the playoffs. And that's what you want to do. You build your team for the playoff run. You don't necessarily build your team to win the regular season because the goal is to get the hardware, right? So that's what you'll start seeing teams do. They're preparing themselves not just for, to go undefeated, but for the long playoff runs, which the better teams will have a better record, obviously, but all you need is a chip in the chair, and you want to be trending toward the end of the season. Because if you're hot, like right now, you can't tell me. I don't think Florida State would have beat Georgia. But I do believe Florida State could have a fighting chance against Michigan or TCU. I don't think Florida State could have competed with Ohio State, but I do believe we could have had a fighting chance against TCU and Michigan because of how good we were doing. So that means at that end of the season, you feel like you're in position to be able to go up against anybody.
Yeah, and so James, we're not – the year we play Notre Dame, we're playing Memphis. The year that we play Alabama, we don't play anybody else that's weird on that schedule. So 2025 is the first year we play Alabama. Now 2026 I haven't looked at, so we might play Alabama and Notre Dame, but we don't in 2025. And in 2024 we play Notre Dame, but not Alabama. So I'm going to look up the 2026 schedule and see if that's the year we play them that you might be talking about. But so far, let's see, 2026 that's when we play Alabama and Notre Dame.
Chris, something I want to ask you and James. Do you eventually see college football basically being like a split, like an NFC, AFC, where there's only two parts?
Well, yes and no. The reason I would say yes is because those two divisions, like the Big Ten and the SEC, will be the teams that are ultimately going up for the national title.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do away with like the Big 12, so to speak, or maybe the Sun Belt or something to that nature. The smaller schools are going to have a conference to play in. I don't think that they ever put them in the Big Ten or the SEC because there's not enough room, and the revenue is not going to. We're not going to pay a Southern Miss for instance, $100 million to play football. It's not going to happen. So they're going to always have to have a conference. Maybe it's only 3 total conferences. Maybe the other one's combined. And then whoever wins out of that conference gets a potential team into the playoffs, but I don't see us ever just being 2. But so to speak, in the same way, yes, because those will be the teams that could potentially get to the playoffs. And you might have 6 out of the Big Ten, 5 out of the SEC, and 1 out of the whatever the new conference is called. But so yes, in a way, no in another. James, I don't know if yours is different, but what's your answer on that question?
No, I think what will happen is they'll have it'll end up being like 4 conferences. The Big Ten, SEC would be the 2 major ones, and let's say you have a 12 team, you got the 12-team playoff. 8 of your spots are going to come from those 2 conferences, so it benefits you to play in there and be one of the top teams in that conference more than it does being in the other spots. And then what will happen is you'll have a Tulane, let's say, like this year, who had a great year, and they're like, okay, well, we would love to see them get a shot because they won their conference. Somebody else, there's always going to be Notre Dame. But I think what's going to happen more is the pride is going to shift more to a pro focus, where it's like, obviously everybody wants to win the Super Bowl, right? But teams and organizations are very cool with getting to the playoffs and playoff wins. So like you'll see guys be like, all right, well, the goal, and I say that to say is like, all right, finishing top 5 in the SEC is now the new goal. Winning the SEC is winning the national championship. And you may even see bowl games or matchups happen every year between the 2 major conferences as they're figuring out how to make money, because they'll have the nation and the biggest media conglomerates at their disposal. The Big Ten with Fox, NBC, and I think I'm missing somebody.
ESPN.
Anyways, let's just say Fox and NBC. Oh, Fox, NBC, and CBS. Excuse me. That's right, because the Big Ten now has what the SEC had since I can remember, and with the SEC having ABC, ESPN, and and those networks that come along with it. I can see the Big 12 trying to continue to expand and becoming the Power 5 JV because they're the closest to it. So that's about it.
James, your camera changed. I don't know if you know that. Y'all know I get a lot of clicks when we talk about Florida State going into the SEC or the Big Ten.
You also get copying you too.
Huh?
You also get a lot of these other podcasts wanting to copy you too. They wait till after you have your podcast.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time. I know how that goes. And here's the other thing. I try to advertise for our show to let everybody know what we're talking about, so it gets people geared up to know, hey, this is the content that you're getting tonight. And in a way, but we usually cover multiple things, but usually the talk is geared around that subject. And I had to kind of stop doing that because everybody's either trying to come out with their show before mine, or they come out with their show right after mine and they use clever words to make it whatever it is. But how do I say this? More power to them. Keep me in your mouth, I hope. Like, whereas, God, I said that wrong. Keep talking about what I'm talking about, because eventually people will call you out on it. Eventually they will start saying, hey, that's what Spirit Addicts was already doing. Why'd you do this? Can't you come up with your own content ideas? I got soldiers. We've got a fan base, and I've seen our fan base go after other people when they copy a little bit too much, when they really try to make their show my show, which I appreciate because it stops me from getting in the trenches and fighting those battles, so I can keep my professionalism as much as possible. But yes, it does. I remember when I dropped the video about Florida State potentially going in the SEC, and y'all can go and look at this if you want. I dropped the video within 6 hours. Every major and minor, I say it again, every major and minor podcast came out with a story about Florida State joining the SEC. And I had different content than they did because I talked to our athletic director, and knowing that there was conversation between us and the SEC. They did not know that. So they kept saying that they didn't know if it was happening, but it's potential. And if it was happening, then this was happening. Well, I had the actual content to say the conversations were happening. And then that's when the conversation came up about, well, Florida State can't get out of their media rights deal with the ACC because the ACC has locked us up until 2036, blah, blah, blah. Well, look, the Big Ten and the SEC within the next few years will have enough money to say, we'll buy that out. I don't care because Florida State's brand could bring X amount of money to our conference. And Florida State is starting to outweigh their debt, so to speak, because Florida State has a debt with the ACC to stick with that contract until the Big Ten or the SEC says it's not too much, we can buy that out. And it's coming. Every year goes by, it gets closer to the moment that the SEC or the Big Ten says, hey, we're taking it. It's ours. We're taking Florida State's brand. Go ahead, James.
Also, it's bigger than football.
Yeah.
When people actually step back and look at, all right, I'm a nerd out here. The Big Ten has a really good academic situation, and look at who Florida State has hired as their past presidents. We're not just trying to whoop Florida's ass in football, man. We're trying to whoop Florida's ass in every aspect possible. We want to be the flagship program in the state of Florida. So how do you do that? Who has some of the biggest agricultural schools? Who has some of the biggest medical schools? Who has some of the best law schools? Who has some of the best engineering schools? I implore you, go look at what the Big Ten does. Also look at what the Big Ten network of schools do. They all develop and share research with each other. So now all of a sudden you have a brain trust of some of the top talent academically. They share monies. They share all kinds of other different things. Now, when they get a grant up north to try to figure out how to farm medicinal marijuana, what better state to do it than the fertile grounds of the state of Florida? What better grounds than the West Coast? Imagine being able to be connected to USC, UCLA, Northwestern, Ohio State, Michigan, Purdue, Indiana, Illinois. I know I'm forgetting a whole bunch of other schools right now off the top of my head, but excuse me. I mean, Maryland's got a pretty, outside of, you can get into Maryland, but outside of that, once you get to actual Maryland's degrees, they're actually pretty prestigious degrees, as well as internships, as well as other things that you're going to be able to get. So the money from a university standpoint outside of athletics is a home run. Getting into the AAU is imperative. That, you know who our new president, where he's from? Harvard. You know what Harvard's a member of? The AAU. You know what he probably knows how to do? Get us in the AAU. You know who's good friends with the guy who's now going to become the next president of the Big Ten? Our athletic director. Isn't that a coinky-dink? Isn't it just some things that is some stuff that people don't really understand that you could, again, it's not about having sources sometimes. It's about, oh, these dots are here. Maybe I could just connect them and we can paint a decent picture. That's all.
Well, I really appreciate the nerd out moment because I want to do stuff like that all the time, but I feel like I would bore people. So, and I still do it from time to time. But James is 100% right. What it would do academically for Florida State, what it would do for this university in whole is absolutely amazing. And obviously we're not the only ones thinking that way because the people that went and hired the president of the school, the athletic director of the school, it just, all of this stuff connects and it all makes perfect sense for you to be, so to speak. Think of it like this. You're a small country inside of a country. That's what colleges are. Like if they can combine with each other to become a superpower because they are sharing intelligence, they're sharing monies, they're sharing all of these things together, then they'll never go anywhere. They will be around for the test of time. So that's what it's about, combining and becoming the superpower of colleges. And it's not just in athletics, like James was saying. So just connect the dots. Like James just said, connect the dots, and you'll be surprised at where you end up because they have huge plans. Florida State's, we're in 2023, and they're fixing to make 2023 decisions. Like, it's big shit that's coming. In as simple terms as I can make it. So So we'll get a little bit back on to football, seeing how we did have a nerd out moment. Chip, do you feel like with the loss of Trayshawn Ward moving on to go to Kansas State, obviously wish all of the luck to him to finish out his college career. Do you feel like anyone behind Trey Benson is going to step up and be our new Trayshawn? That could potentially be that guy.
One person comes to mind, Rodney Hill. I'm ready to see that guy get 5 to 10 carries, more a game. You also got CJ Campbell. I don't think we got to see, all of what CJ can do. I watched him play when he was at Bay High. The kid is phenomenal. But he was just coming back off an injury. Also, don't forget we still got Tolafili. We got a loaded ass backfield.
And we got that kid that transferred from Penn State who became a walk-on, so he's going to have a shit ton that he wants to prove. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. So Florida State is not lacking in the running back position, everybody. It's amazing that room's got. Our defensive tackle room is second to none. I'm excited for the 23 season because where Chip earlier was talking about Florida State just needs to get to the point where we're just reloading and not rebuilding. I think the 2024 class is going to be a proof of that we're just reloading for the next year and we're reloading for the year after. Because to expect a 2024 kid to come in and to be an immediate impact is crazy. Okay? This very few far in between can do that. I'm so ready to see Winston Wright play because of what we expected out of him this previous season. He unfortunately had a car incident, and he wasn't able to play the whole year. Do you think that young man's more motivated now than ever to show out on a football field? Because I can tell you that he is. What he's already doing at the tour of duty, what he was doing in the offseason. It's the same way that I talk about Io. These young men are so hungry to prove who they are that I would hate to be the obstacle in front of them for them to get there because they're going to run your ass over and they will make it happen. So I'm so excited for the 2023 season just because of the guys we didn't see, let alone the ones we're going to see again. Jared Verse is going to have to play with a chip on his shoulder all year long because of the injury that he had. And people started questioning if he was the real defensive end like he started off to be, but he's losing momentum because they think he's going to the NFL, so they don't want to get hurt. And he just slapped all y'all in the mouth and said he's coming back to Florida State. Everybody said he's not playing hard because he's going to the NFL. And I'm like, you don't know that. Quit running your mouth. He is playing hard. During that bowl game, I can tell you that there was 15 holds on that kid that could have been called. Not one of them was. But the refs were at least equal. They also allowed us to hold the hell out of their people. So it sucks, but at the same time, look what you've got returning. Look what you've got that you haven't seen. Like James was talking about the last episode. We know what we know. We have an unknown. We don't know what we don't know coming. Like all this shit that he said, I knew what he was saying. I can't say it. I had it together.
You have known knowns. You have unknown knowns. And then you have unknown unknowns. The things you don't know that you don't know.
That's it right there. So we have so much of that coming that it makes the 2023 season so exciting. I'm so ready to see what the Verses come back and do, what the Jordan Travis is like. What happens if Jordan Travis takes another step like he did from 21 to 22? I don't know if that's possible, but what if he does? What if he comes out looking like Peyton Manning, and only much faster and can run? But being able to pick defenses apart and being able to read the defense like Peyton Manning did, that type of quarterback. And you've got Tony Tokars that seems to be doing one hell of a job with him. Mm-hmm. So it's very potential that we see another step from Jordan Travis. And then think about seeing another step from Trey Benson. I think we get that step. I think that one's like it's a no-brainer. That kid's going to come out and just haul ass. I think you might see a couple of returns this year because he had one against Boston College. I think he wants to repeat that so bad that he can taste it. So we've got these things that are coming. That's why you've got a lot of people like that J.D. Piquel guy off of On 3. He's picking Florida State as a party. He called it something, but we're basically going to come in and blow up the party next year. He thinks we're a dark horse that could potentially be in the playoff talk. I agree with him, fortunately, but it's no longer just us Florida State guys that are hyping up Florida State. Now it's on a national level where everybody's got Florida State in their mouth. Everybody's talking about what Mike Norvell and this staff has put together. Everybody's talking about what Florida State's doing across the entire landscape, not just in athletics. Like what James was just talking about, where he put those dots together for you. Everyone's starting to notice it, and it's now on national levels of people talking about, hey, whatever the hell they're doing in Tallahassee is really, really special. So it's really, really cool. I'm going to hit this real quick. We appreciate the $4.99 from, I can't see his name for some reason. It shows a bunch of arrows on my
Khalil Young.
What's his name?
Looks like it says Khalil Young.
So for some reason, mine's got arrows over it. I don't know why. But he asked a question. He made a statement. I think the combination of Surtain, Dugans, Odell, and their analysts in South Florida recruiting has potential to be huge this year. I 100% agree with you. Yes. I think we're going to be able to recruit. That's why I told everybody the 2024 class is going to be the best one of Norvell's era, not just at Florida State, but including what he was able to recruit at Memphis. This will be a special class that's coming together based off of these reasons that you just said, Mr. Young, I'm assuming, because I can't see his name still. But we appreciate the $4.99 donation. Someone asked me earlier how you do that, how you donate toward the page. You click on Super Chat, and then it allows you to pay a donation, and then it lights up in this color. So then I share it like this. Oh, now I can see his name if I'd have shared it. And then that's how your question gets to the top of the board, and then we make sure that we answer your question or we read your comment. So he's got a backup comment with it. Chance Robinson, Charles Lesser III, JoJo Trader are must gets. I also agree. And here's the cool part. We're in the lead for all the ones you just named. We've only got about 3 minutes left. So I'm going to let James tell y'all where he can find him. And I'm going to let Chip tell you where he can find him. And I'm going to close this thing off. Guys, I'm sorry that this is not exactly how I thought the episode was going to go. But I think y'all did a fantastic job. Great content from y'all as always. So I appreciate y'all carrying the show tonight because I didn't know where the hell I was going with all of it.
At Big Game James _36 on Twitter. I really don't need, you can follow me on Twitter. That's cool and all. I just need y'all to go subscribe to at Den Media Group on YouTube. Check out Big Games BS Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 11-ish. It comes on sometimes in there, but check out the rebroad. Please like, comment, even if nothing else. Just click the button and, just let it run in the background. Let it be background noise. Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate it, James. Chip, where can they find you?
You can catch me on Facebook at Unconquered 850. I'd like to thank the two latest former Seminoles and one current Seminole that just joined. Mr. Touchdown Maker himself, Shannon Baker, All-American and Buckus Award winner, Pat McGowan, and the Queen of Badassery on our softball team, Michaela Edenfield. You can also catch me at C Westerly 9 on Twitter and the same on Instagram and YouTube.
Well, I really appreciate it. Chip, as always, I can't tell y'all enough how much I appreciate what y'all are doing and helping out with. I really appreciate what y'all do here and how y'all help us with the show. I know he jumped off, but they usually listen at the end.